Well, good evening, everybody. It's 7:30 and just want to welcome you to our call this evening. My name is Dave Ellis. I'm the Vice President of Programs for First Robotics Canada, and it's my pleasure to spend an hour with you tonight, along with a few of our presenters. First Canada is a nonprofit organization. We are happy to represent parents and teachers and children and try and create an exciting opportunity for all of those parties to enjoy STEM and to be inspired to think that STEM is an interesting and exciting avenue to explore, especially for the children. FIRST is an acronym. It stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. And it's one of those organizations that really has a lot going on the surface as well as under the water, as depicted in that picture. You know, if you go to one of our events and you see an event, you would see the excitement and you would see the energy of the kids and you'd see the technology that they're obviously creating and spending time developing. But beyond that, they're developing a whole host of other skills that you'll hopefully get an idea of that throughout tonight's presentation. But you know, they're learning about STEM awareness. They're learning about themselves. They're learning how to present material effectively. They're learning how to think critically and to work dynamically in a group, not only with their own teammates, but with teams that they'd be competing against as well. One of the terms that FIRST has coined is cooperation, and it really talks about people competing hard, but also cooperating with the people that they're competing against. So it's quite an interesting perspective that I think is pretty fresh and pretty new and pretty unique to FIRST. A lot of the programs that we run have an entrepreneurial spirit to them, where kids are, you know, being innovators for sure, but also looking at business models and business plans and trying to think about how to best market what they're doing. Partly to grow the program, partly to get people to know about their team and about what they're doing, and to bring in sponsorship and those kinds of things. So there's a lot of skills developed there. And of course, the 21st century skills that we've kind of already spoken on, one being gracious professionalism and cooperation. Those are both, as you can see, the registered trademarks for FIRST. But as a parent and as a former educator in Ontario, what I see as being the most valuable, yes, they're going to learn technical skills. Yes, they're going to learn how to program and design a robot, and that's really cool. And for some kids, that's that's the carrot that really drives them. But like I said, as a parent, as an educator, for me, the most value comes from the other things that they pick up along the way as well. And it's fascinating to see how those things develop throughout their time with us without them even realizing it. FIRST has a progression of programs, and it starts with our youngest programs in First Lego League, and First Lego League actually has 3 divisions to it. So one of those divisions is First Lego League Discover for kids that are 4 to 6 years old, and then there's First Lego League Explore, which we're going to talk about tonight in depth, and that's for kids that are 6 to 10 years old. And then the third division within the First Lego League program is First Lego League Challenge, and that is for kids that are 9 to 14 years old. And we're also going to be focusing on that. So tonight's presentation is largely going to be in that first block there called First Lego League. And but we do have 2 other programs. One is called First Tech Challenge, and it's for kids 12 to 18 years old. So it kind of carries over through that middle school program. And then the First Robotics Competition, which is strictly for kids in grade 9 to 12 or 14 to 18 years old. So those are the 3 big programs that we have tonight. Like I said, we're going to really be breaking down First Lego League, and the 2 programs within First Lego League, the 2 divisions are First Lego League Discover for 6 to 10 year olds and First Lego League Challenge for 9 to 14 year olds. As I mentioned, FIRST has a philosophy that they kind of like to live by, and a methodology to accomplish the goals that we have for the kids. We're going to talk a little bit about core values in a second. In First Lego League, there is a project that the kids have to do as well, and Annika will get into that a little bit in her presentation as well. But through that project, they're learning research skills, and they're learning how to come together with a bunch of possibly divergent ideas, bring them into one cohesive solution, and then present that in a way to the judges that makes sense in a very short time. They have 5 minutes to do the presentation. And so to be able to pull that together in such a short amount of time, and to present all the data and all the information that they have researched and developed, is quite astounding. One of the focuses of the program is really to look at lifelong learning, and we talk about that in education all the time, and in other sectors of society as well. But really, it's quite important for them to see that the adults are learning along with them as well. And so, some of you as parents tonight might be thinking, I don't know if I have the skill set in order to pull this off. I want this opportunity for my kids, but I think this is beyond my skill set, and that's okay to feel like that. But we're here to tell you that you do have the skills, or at least we can get you those skills for you. So don't be discouraged at all by thinking that maybe you don't have those skills. The goal with Lego obviously is often, they talk about learning through play, and that's one of the kind of tenets of Lego itself. And so because we have partnered with Lego, First has partnered with Lego, that discovery and learning through play is continues to be a big component of this. And what we see from our kids is that as they develop through the programs, they build on their self-confidence, and they build on their social and emotional learning, which is really powerful to see. A lot of parents will come back to us, or teachers will come back to us and said, oh, Samira, she was so quiet when she first started, and now she's leading the team, and she's planning meetings, and she's organizing people and reaching out to sponsors, and that never would have been her 2 years ago, for example. And that's a random example, but we hear those stories all the time from people. So we know that this program works, and it's really effective at reaching the children and developing their skills along the way. So hopefully you'll stick with us and learn a little bit more about that. The first core values, I mentioned it really briefly there, but they're listed across the screen here. One of the really important ones, obviously, is making an impact in their community. But they do all of this through teamwork, like I said, together, and inclusion and respect is so important in First, and a big focus in the core values. And one of the taglines or sayings that we have is that we're not getting kids to build robots, we're using robots to build kids. And I think that's really a neat way to look at it, because the robot is there, and it's it's the carrot that draws them in. But really, through that experience, we're weaving all these opportunities for the kids to interact with people that they may not normally interact with, and learning from them, and having this opportunity to work with a mentor to develop their interpersonal skills is something quite powerful. I know a lot of people have been asking us at First Canada, how can we manage to run a team? And you may be thinking something similar along those lines as you start to contemplate, oh, this sounds like a really good thing for my child or my kids. How would I go about doing that in the time of COVID? And it's a very valid question, and we've been working through that pretty diligently over the last couple months, trying to come up with solutions for people. And so we've got this link here available for people, and it really outlines broad examples of what can be done. And you as the parent will be able to make those choices based on where you are in our province, and what your local health guidelines are stating. But in generalities, trying to keep the kids obviously separate if they're not already in your bubble from your home. If they are, then obviously all of this goes out the window, and you can go nuts. But the opportunity to have the kids build collaboratively, but also in modules. So they might be building certain pieces of the robot, and then have it sit for 3 or 4 days and allow the virus to to dissipate, and then bring those pieces together. The programming can be done remotely and then downloaded to the robot from anywhere. So there's lots of opportunities. Anyways, it's outlined in there. We're not going to get into what the specifics are, but you can certainly check that out and apply the ones that you think are appropriate for you or your situation. So I've spoken a lot already. That wasn't my intention, but I want to bring in our two specialists that we have on the call today. We have Christine Bibick, who is the program manager for First Lego League Explore and Discover. We're only going to be talking about Explore tonight, which is for the 6 to 10-year-olds. Christine is a parent and a coach of many of our first teams in all the programs, and has been working diligently in the First Lego League Explore and Discover program for quite a few years now. And Annika Pint is with us as well, and she's going to be talking about First Lego League Challenge, which is the program for our 9 to 14-year-old students. And she's the program manager for that division, and she's a longtime educator in Toronto as well. We worked together for quite a few years in that, and then she's left teaching to come work with us at First Robotics Canada, and she's heading up this program here as well. Lots of experience from both of them. I'm excited to hear what they have to say to us, and we're going to start off with Christine bringing information about First Lego League Explore.
Thanks, Dave. Welcome to everybody, whether you're listening to this recording afterwards or you're listening tonight live. Thank you for joining us. Just a little bit more to add on to the wonderful overview that Dave already gave us. Just sort of my own personal testimonial. It doesn't seem like long ago, but it probably was a few years back now. Now that I'm thinking about my kids and how old they are, that I was sitting pretty much where you guys are tonight. I didn't know anything about Lego. I didn't know anything about First, but I came across this program online and I thought, oh, this looks really interesting. It's something that might really engage my kids. I was at the time looking for something to keep my oldest son sort of a little less involved in his video game love and passion, and trying to find something that was similar that would really capture his attention. And I have to say, umpteen years later, he's now 25, so it was a while ago, it certainly did the trick. He certainly caught the passion, and not only that, my 4 younger kids also caught the first bug. And it's really had a huge impact on them. And as Dave was outlining earlier, it's so much more than just building robots, because it builds character, it builds stamina, it builds so many great life skills, and it all starts here. So tonight I'm going to be focusing on First Lego League Explore, and this is the specific division of First Lego League that's aimed at ages 6 to 10. And you can have teams of up to 6 students on your team. So it could be 2, or it could be 3, 4, 5, or 6. And it's a really great program. It explores real world challenges, and the students learn how to really work together. It is an introduction to programming for them, which is really wonderful at this age to have that opportunity. And it very much builds on the future programs in the Family of First programs. So the theme for this year is the same as it will be that Annika will be talking about for First Lego League Challenge, which is kind of nice. So if you have siblings in different age groups, it's really kind of nice. I used to do this with my own kids, like we'd go on one field trip together. The older ones would learn for their challenge, and the younger ones would learn for theirs. And so we really combined things, and it made a real family thing for us. And that's what I really loved about it. They're using at this age group, they're using Lego, and they're specifically using the We Do 2.0. And we'll just move to the next slide. This is a little video that really sums up beautifully, I think, what it's all about, and this year's challenge theme, which is called Playmakers. So we'll just watch this, and I think it'll give you a nice overview, because they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and I think a moving picture is worth even more. So here we go.
centuries, sports have played an integral part of our culture. Moving, collaborating, competing, celebrating. Sports have paved a way for us to play and move together. The activities that challenge us physically and mentally are shifting, and we are challenged to use our minds, our creativity, imagination, and critical thinking as much as we use our muscles. As we rethink where we move and redesign the parks, fields, and spaces around us to create places to play, we have the power to be forces for change and redefine the game. Let's work together to champion every sport and every person that plays the game, so people of all abilities and skill levels can participate, giving us all reasons to cheer. It's time for us to revolutionize the way we play and move. It's time to be game changers. In the 2020-2021 first LEGO League Explore season, Playmakers, you will explore new ways to move and play.
Hi, I'm May. And I'm Marco. And this is Max. We are your guides to Playmakers.
Come on, let's go.
Marco and I don't like to stay still, and that's a good thing.
We've noticed there are lots of places where people are not active.
Moving keeps everyone both healthy and strong.
May and I have great ideas for games and activities wherever they go.
Can you help us create new and fun ways for everyone to get moving? Your ideas could help change your community or even the world. You will also learn about the first core values. The core values are part of everything we do at first. They're like the members on your team. Each one works together to help you succeed.
Discovery,
Innovation,
impact,
inclusion,
teamwork,
and fun. You will use the core values all the time. Create new, fun ways for everyone to get moving.
Everyone on your team will have a chance to program and build.
At the end of the season, make a team poster about your team and its journey.
Then get ready to celebrate at a festival.
You can show and tell reviewers what you did and what you learned.
And see what other teams created too.
We can't wait to see what you create to make life better in your community.
Good luck this season, and remember to have fun as you reimagine the way we play and move. Whether you're exploring how our bodies move or uncovering opportunities to play that are fun and fair for everyone, your creativity can revolutionize the world. Let's rethink the way we play and move. It's time to be game changers.
What a great challenge that's going to be. Lots of fun, and I can really imagine all the creative solutions that our teams come up with this season. Moving on to the next slide, we're going to just dive a little deeper into some of the things that were already sort of touched on briefly in that little video clip. This is sort of the journey that a typical Explore team might take. And as you can see, it's not really a straight line. There's lots of movement and going back and forth, and that's just fine. The program itself is designed to be really flexible so that you can take a deeper dive into things that are of interest to your students on your team. You can repeat things if they need a little more practice at something, and there's just lots of opportunity to really adapt it to be what you want it to be. And the next slide, we're going to learn a little bit more about the season's materials here. They showed these in the video clip as well. On the left-hand side, you'll see the materials that come when you register. This is all included in your registration fee. So in there you'll see what we call the Explore set. It used to be called the Inspire set for those of you that have been around before. And that's a model, and there are instructions on how to build that model so that the students can sort of build that right out of the gate and have some success and feel a sense of accomplishment. And it's designed really to inspire them to continue on with building their model out to show their innovative solutions for their challenge as well. So it really sort of is a great jumping off point. And as you saw in the video as well, there's 2 ways it can be built. So one is with the hand crank, and then you can also adapt it so that you can use a motor and you can program it to move. So that's a really great intro to the students as well. So they can sort of take that and they can use that. They can change it and move it, and it might end up looking somewhat different by the end of the season, but that's just fine. The idea is just to give them a jumping off point. Also, you'll see 2 handbooks or manuals underneath there. One is the team meeting guide. This is great for parents because it's really step by step. It brings you through all the different lessons, and they're designed to be about an hour long, and everything's really clearly laid out. So you can follow that exactly as it's presented, or like I said, you can deviate from that, add in some of your own things, or combine 2 lessons together if you don't have as much time as you would like, or if you need to catch up because you're falling a little bit behind because they took more time on a particular aspect of their build than or anyway, it's very, very flexible. It's very much a guideline. And then the engineering notebook, there'll be 1 for each student. So with your registration, you'll receive 6 of these in your package that gets mailed to you. And this is a really great little sort of supplementary thing to your whole program as well. It's not required that you bring these to your event at the end of the season, but they certainly are welcome to, because the reviewers that are meeting the students and talking to them about what they've learned throughout the season might enjoy seeing those, but it's not necessary. And there's lots of different opportunities in there for the kids to sort of document exactly what their journey has involved. And we'll show some pages of that in just a moment as well. On the right-hand side, that's the We Do 2.0. And you'll need 1 of those per team. You can use any additional Lego you want in addition to that We Do 2.0, but you will need 1 of those. And that's a really great start to sort of your Lego collection. So if you have Lego already at home, you could integrate that into this project as well. There's lots of opportunities for that. Anyway, we'll just go on to the next slide because I'll get too ahead of myself otherwise. So free software to download. This is available even without the purchase of the We Do 2.0. You can download it for free from Lego. You can just do a quick search for it and you'll find it without any problem at all. And as you can see, this software is icon based, and it's a drag and drop sort of thing. So at the bottom, you can see in the tray, there's a number of different icons, and you drag those into sort of a sentence format so that you're basically reading from right to left. So even parents and students that don't have any programming background can really easily figure this out. It's very intuitive, and frankly, I've never really had to do much other than tell the kids what some of the icons mean, and once they get it, they get it, and they're off to the races, and they're not afraid at all to explore and experiment. So it's kind of exciting to watch what they come up with. You can see here there's a play button at the beginning, and that's how you actually execute the program. And in here as well, making it slightly more advanced, you have that yellow loop there with the 2 arrows indicating the loop, and you can see where it loops around to so that it continues to do that. And then there's the little pieces underneath each icon, which sort of give inputs to the icon. And we have a video that's available online that explains all of this in a little bit more detail. So look for that, and we'll give you a link to that at the end of the presentation as well. Now here we have the engineering notebook and the team meeting guide. So on the left is the team meeting guide. It's an example from session 1 of this year's challenge. And as you can see, it really clearly outlines exactly what the expectations are, sort of gives some pointers, and it shows in the inset there what the student's engineering notebook looks like for that particular lesson as well. And there's a close-up of it on the right-hand side, what the student's engineering notebook looks like. And you can see where there's opportunities for them to sort of either draw something or make a few notes, and it's just a way for them to sort of learn to log their process and progress. So it's a lot of fun, and nice, bright, colorful characters make it, I think, a little more interesting too. And on our next slide, we're going on to talk about what the end result might look like. This is an example of a team, and as you can see here, they are actually at an event in this particular picture. You can see on the table there's a couple of iPads or tablets of some sort with the program on them. So you can program on a laptop or a tablet, and there's more information about that online, so you can read about the requirements for that. And then here is their Lego creation, their model. And as you can see, this one's quite large and nice and colorful. And in that mix is usually that Discover set that I was referring to earlier. Also in the Discover set, I should add that there are 6 decently sized base plates, we call them. And with the COVID situation this year, I think it's really wonderful that these are already part of the existing kit, because I think it gives us an opportunity to divide out those pieces of Lego and have each student build a little more independently, so that there's not as much potential for cross-contamination. Or if you're doing it virtually and you're doing it sort of using Zoom or something like that online, and you're having your team meet remotely, you can maybe drop off a little package of Lego and a base plate to each student that's involved in your team. In the background there, you'll also see there's a tri-fold or a tri-panel display. That's the project for this age group, and it incorporates just really anything that the students want to include or share. It could be pictures that they've drawn themselves or photos that they've taken of their progress. It could be a little bit of a biography on each student. It could be something that they've learned or describing their innovative solution. And there's more details on that in the team meeting guide. And I think it's a really fun way to express themselves, and it also prepares them well for the next level of FIRST, which Annika will be talking about shortly. And festivals. So in the past, we've called these expos, so you may still have some crossover in the terms there for this year, but they're now called festivals. And the first Lego League Explore festivals can take on a number of different shapes or varieties. So they can be a large event, they can be a small, intimate event. They can be something that's just about the reviewing, in which case it's usually 2 adult reviewers that are interviewing the students as a group and asking them questions about their model. It isn't competitive at this age, so it's just really to get them comfortable with expressing themselves, giving them an opportunity to sort of overcome some of those anxious feelings that they might have, giving them an opportunity as well, because usually these reviewers are really excellent at making the kids feel comfortable and asking them questions and getting them involved. So it's really nice to see that sense of accomplishment and the sense of pride, I think, that the students have when they've finished that reviewing session at their festival. At the festivals as well, there may be other opportunities to do other fun things. Oftentimes there's some sort of entertainment or fun games or activities for the students to participate in while they're waiting their turn to meet the reviewers. This year, with COVID, we are starting off our season, at least, doing our events remotely. So there's going to be an opportunity to do this online in sort of a similar format to this, or for anybody that's familiar with any sort of software like that, like Zoom or whatever. So we're going to have an opportunity to interview and have reviewers talk to the kids using a screen and interacting that way. So we're not quite sure, because it will depend on when the event takes place and what the parameters are at that time. But if the students can't get together as a group of up to 6, then it's fine for them to meet individually and potentially even have their 6th or whatever, their portion of the build to show, so they can sort of highlight it and show it and explain it to the reviewers at that time. So it's might be a little different than in the past, but I think it's still going to be fun, and I think we'll still have the opportunity to do some really interesting things and hopefully meet other teams, even if it is remotely. So next slide, this is what you're all waiting for probably, right? The costs to register a single team. I'll just mention that there are other options other than registering a team. For anybody that's interested in that, you can find more information on the firstroboticscanada.org webpage. But for a single team, we estimate that a decent budget would be about $550 Canadian. It varies a little bit because registration fees are in US dollars. So it depends on what the Canadian dollar is on any given day, exactly what that translates out to in Canadian dollars. So with your registration fee, as I mentioned before, you get your team meeting guide, your Explore set, your engineering notebooks, and the only other thing that you need above and beyond that would be your Lego. And as part of that, you'll want to have the We Do 2.0 core set. That's available through 2 distributors for Canadians. They're Spectrum Education from Newmarket, Ontario, and B&B, which is based out of Quebec. I always recommend checking out prices. You never know. They're usually fairly close, but sometimes one of them will have a little bit better price than the other. In addition to that, you might want to consider having team t-shirts. These don't have to be anything fancy. They can be homemade, they can be whatever, but often teams, when they go to an event in person, do have team t-shirts. So you might not want to have your students feel left out, but it could also be some sort of other sort of team uniform. It could be everybody's got a baseball hat the same or whatever, just something to identify you as a team. And then you're going to have that trifold project display board as well, and a few miscellaneous costs involved with that. You know, you might need to print out a few things, or I don't know, it's but anyway, it gives you an idea of exactly what you might be looking at. And then festivals, registrations for festivals vary. They can go from $0 right up to $50, and it depends on the event, what the costs are. Some events will have medallions and trophies, others may just have a certificate, and that's generally reflected in the registration fee. So it gives you an idea of what's involved. And I also wanted to mention that We Do 2.0, that is your big investment piece. So that's something that you're investing in now, but you can use for years to come. And who doesn't, you can never have too much Lego, I don't think. At least that's what I say now. So it's something to definitely look forward to using, and it gives you that ability to program your motors or whatever to do things. So definitely a key piece to this. And I know that Annika is going to be speaking next, so it's my pleasure to introduce Annika, who's going to talk to us a little bit more about First Lego League Challenge, and she's going to sum things up with exactly how to go about the next steps as far as both programs go. So thanks, Annika.
Thank you so much, Christine. That was so interesting, and you've actually made my job much easier because there are so many parallels between the First Lego League Explore and the First Lego League Challenge programs. Of course, the age range is different, and we'll talk a bit more about some of the other differences, but I'll be able to hopefully get through this a little bit more quickly and leave some time for questions at the end. So the first LEGO League program is for students ages 9 to 14. And on the previous slide, you probably noticed a quick description there at the bottom in which that explains some of the differences between this and the first LEGO League Explore program. So in this one, the students design and build an autonomous LEGO robot to complete tasks on a themed playing field. And they also develop an innovative solution to a real-world problem related to this year's challenge theme. And all this is in preparation for a regional tournament at which the teams present their solutions and demonstrate their robots for panels of judges. So there is a culminating event like with First LEGO League Explore, and we'll take a little bit closer look at what that will be like, especially this year, because it will be different from in past years. Like the theme from First LEGO League Explore, this year's challenge theme is similar because it's related to promoting physical activity and making it safe, fun, and accessible so that more people of different ages and abilities maintain their physical fitness. And so this year's challenge theme is called Replay, and all of the missions on the themed playing field that I mentioned, and also the innovative solutions that the teams develop, will all revolve around this one theme. And regardless of the season, because if this is your first season, it's hopefully the first of many. So I'd love to share with you a little bit more about the structure of the first LEGO League program to give you an idea of what the students will be doing, regardless of whether it's during the replay season or in future seasons. So as both Christine and Dave had mentioned, there are these core values: teamwork, discovery, innovation, impact, inclusion, and fun. And these are the core values that the team will demonstrate throughout the season, both on and off their team. And this makes up, a really important part of the program. As Dave mentioned, the carrot, or one of the really big draws to this program, is the robotics component. So the students, as I mentioned, design and build an autonomous robot to solve missions on this themed playing field. And they also, I'll talk a bit more about how they share that information, but they will be preparing a short presentation about the design and the programs and the strategy. But not only do they present that information, they actually put their robots to the test in what's called the robot game. So the teams have 2.5 minutes to participate. They participate in these 2.5-minute matches, and they try and complete as many missions as possible, and they earn points along the way. So this is one of the really exciting parts of the competition. And then the final part, as I mentioned, there's this innovation project. So the teams, as I said, they identify a problem related to this year's challenge theme. They design a solution to that problem, and then they share their ideas both with community members that might benefit from the solution, but also with judges at a regional qualifying tournament at the end of the season. So those are sort of the 4 main parts of the program, and they're all equally important, and we'll take a bit of a closer look at each of those as we go through the presentation. Like in First LEGO League Explore, there are some materials that, or you'll need to purchase some materials, some of which can be reused from year to year, and others that are a recurring cost, so it changes from year to year depending on the theme. So on the left side of the screen, you'll see the 2 different types of robotics kits that your teams can use to actually design these robots to solve missions on the themed playing field. The top left is called LEGO Mindstorms EV3, and bottom left is called LEGO Education Spike Prime. And this is actually the first year in which that kit is allowed to be used in the competition. So we're really excited to hear about teams that decide to go with that option. On the right side is a very shrunken view of the themed playing field that I've been talking about. It's actually 4 by 8 feet, the board itself, but then the mat that fits inside is just a little bit shorter than 8 feet long. And then below that is some of the season resources that are similar to the ones Christine mentioned. There's a team meeting guide that you would use as a coach to help scaffold the learning throughout the season. There are 12 sessions, and it's broken down in a really clear and concise way for coaches to follow, and gives you an idea of what the team members can do each session to help them prepare for one of these regional qualifying tournaments. There's also an engineering notebook in which the students can record their learning journey, as well as a rule book, because this themed playing field that I keep talking about, I'll take a closer look at that in just a minute. There are some, like any game, they're like basketball or whatever, or soccer, there are, specific rules that the robots need to follow in specific ways that you can, do well. So that rule book really gets into the nitty-gritty and describes those. And as Christine mentioned, there's she showed a really great visual comparing the team meeting guide with the engineering notebook, and it's similar with First LEGO League Challenge. So for each session, the coach has their version, and then the team members have their version. And I really like how the coach version is annotated and gives some tips and discussion points and suggestions for how to guide the session, and then a spot for the team to record, whether in pictures or in words, their learning along the way. Now imagine that you have completed all 12 of these sessions, and your team has designed and built this robot that completes missions on the themed playing field, and they come up with some very innovative solution to a real world problem related to the replay season. Now it's time to actually share that learning in a tournament setting. And there are many aspects to the tournament, but the two main parts that I'd love to share with you are the judging and the robot game. So in the first part, which is the judging session, the teams will have 30 minutes to talk about their robot design and about their innovation project. And as you can see on the left, there's a bit of a flow in terms of the order in which they present those to the judges, and for how long they have to discuss those. It might feel a bit short because it's only 5 minutes for each, but that really encourages the team to be concise and really practice so that they get in all the important information. And then when the judges are watching their presentation and following the presentations, when they ask questions, there are also 3 rubrics. And so for each of the 3 categories, robot, design, innovation project, and core values, the judges will complete a rubric to give some feedback about how the students did in each of those 3 categories. Now, this year, because of COVID-19, our events are actually going to be held remotely instead of in person. So these sessions, the plan is for them to still be live, but they'll be conducted via a web conferencing software like the one we're using for today's webinar. And so, there may be some logistics associated with how you're going to get together and actually present that to judges, if you'll all be in one space or if you'll actually be calling in from different places. But you'll have lots of time to get that coordinated and a lot more information from us around how to prepare for that and what to expect. The second exciting part of any competition is the robot game. And this is where the teams actually show their robot solving or completing as many of those missions on the themed playing field as possible during a 2.5 minute, 2.5 minute match. And again, in previous seasons, teams would come together, teams in a similar geographic region would come together, and they would run their robots during live matches and in-person matches. But again, because this year our events are going to be remote, teams are instead going to be submitting pre-recorded videos of their robot doing the same thing as they would if they were in person. And so a referee will still score their match in the same way as they would at an in-person event. And teams will have a chance to meet with the referees to go over their score and make sure they understand why it was scored in the way it was. Now I'm going to show you a quick video of a robot actually autonomously completing some of these missions. Now, I'm sometimes reluctant to show this video because the robot's like really good, and sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, my robot's never going to be that good. How are my students going to build this? But a lot of teams post their videos on here so that you can get inspiration, and if you see a cool strategy that they're using, you can adopt that and incorporate it. It doesn't count as copying, it counts as sharing and learning. So I'm hoping this inspires you and gives you an idea of some of the really innovative designs that teams come up with. So this is a view of the themed playing field for the 2020-2021 replay season. And you can see that there are some attachments or mechanisms that are controlled by the sort of hub or the brick of they're using an EV3 robot. They've got a lift mechanism to perform some of these different missions. And you can see that it's accurately following this line, and you can use some color sensors to help do that. And there's tons of really good programming tutorials to help you, and building tutorials to help you with ideas for making your robot do similar things. So that was just a short glimpse. It wasn't 2.5 minutes, but hopefully you get the idea. And to program your robot to do those different things, again, there's the two different types of hardware that I mentioned, the EV3 and the Spike Prime. The EV3 is maybe a little bit more similar to the WeDo because you've got the programming blocks listed along the bottom, and you connect them horizontally, and each block performs a different action or makes the robot do something different, and you can change the conditions to make it do it for longer or faster or whatever. And then on the right, you can see how sort of the user interface for programming Spike Prime may look more familiar to those of you that have used Scratch, or if any of your children have used Scratch at school to learn programming, that one might be a bit more familiar. So the programming script is done vertically as opposed to horizontally, and you have the all the different blocks over on the left in different menus. And again, lots of different tutorials to help you get familiar with those depending on the one that you decide to use. Okay, and for first LEGO League Challenge, the season timeline is a little bit different. So from October to December, once you've had a chance to register, and we'll talk about how you can do that in just a moment, the things to think about include where are you going to meet, and if not in person, how are you going to meet? So what collaboration and communication platforms are you going to use so that you can still work together and safely but remotely? The team size is between 2 and 10, and the meeting guide is split up into 12 sessions, as I mentioned, recommended 90 minutes per session. So you can decide whether you'd like to meet twice a week for 6 weeks, or once a week for 12 weeks. That might be a bit tight, but as Christine mentioned, it can be more often or less often if you want to combine things, or if you need to take longer to complete one session than the other. And then our events were going to be in late January and early February, and where we're going to celebrate the learning and showcase the accomplishments of your teams. And of course, after they've done that, you'll have your own celebrations as well. The cost breakdown is similar to the First LEGO League Explore program, slightly more expensive. The registration fee is approximately 300 Canadian, including the items shown here. And of course, there's some taxes and shipping associated with getting those materials to your door. And as I mentioned, there's 2 different types of equipment, and the costs are shown there. It's $550 for the core set, EV3 core set, and $400 for the Spike Prime set. And then there's an optional expansion kit that you can get for use with the EV3 if that's something, if you're interested in some extra bits, but that's reusable, so that's kind of a one-time cost. The themed playing field that I mentioned is called the Challenge set. That's $130, and tournament registration fee has been up to $150 in the past, but this year, because there are not as many overhead costs associated with hosting remote events, it'll be much lower. You need to make actually a wooden table in which to rest the pieces of the challenge set, the mat and the mission models. And in the wood and stuff, you need to make that as maybe $50. And then additional items like shirts, as Christine mentioned, or office, consumable supplies are shown there. Whether you're deciding to register for First LEGO League Explore or First LEGO League Challenge or both, there's a website here at which you can register your teams, and there's steps associated with creating a user profile and then creating your team. There's also a mandatory screening process for you and one other adult mentor, and then you can go through the process of ordering your equipment, either the WeDo for Explore or the EV3 or Spike Prime for Challenge. And luckily there are some really great grants available. So once you've registered, you can actually apply for a $200 grant if you'd like to start an Explore team, or depending on the composition of your team for First LEGO League Challenge, the grants range from $200 to $1,000. So we'll be sharing this slideshow with you following today's presentation, and you can click directly on these hyperlinks to take you to the information page about applying for those grants. And as I mentioned on the previous slide, there is a website that you can visit if you would like to register for either program. Once you've created a first account, every time you want to get back into it, you log in. But the first time you'll create your team and profile, as I mentioned, and there's a whole bunch of fields to fill in, not all of which need to be filled in right away. So if it asks you for the number of team members or how many boys and girls on your team, there are lots that you can leave blank and revisit later once you've really established your team and decided on a name and so on. Throughout the presentation, both Christine and Dave and I have mentioned some of the different resources about coding and building and grants and things like that. They're all available at this link. So the First Canada website has a resource page, and then on there you can pick which program you'd like some more resources about. Oh, and we've got about 8 minutes left for any questions about either First LEGO League Challenge or Explore. And we've been answering a couple of them along the way, so hopefully you've had your questions answered. I may invite Dave and Christine to join me back on the scene here in case there are any program-specific questions. The one that I see that's not yet answered asks about YouTube videos in which kids have used 2 or 3 different robots for different missions, but hasn't yet seen an EV3 kit. Is it correct to assume that the kids will be building more than one robot to complete the mission? Will the EV3 kit have parts for more than one robot? Okay, so I think I can answer that, and Dave and Christine, if I miss anything, please let me know. So the core set comes with enough to build one robot, because the main brain of the computer, or the main brain of the robot, is called the brick, and that it only comes with one. And so if you've seen them using 2 or 3 different robots, I'm wondering, yeah, I mean, like I'd be happy to check out one of these videos. They may be, they may have multiple sets that they use for practice, but at a competition, you're actually meant to use just one robot. And the reason it might look different is that they've added different attachments to it. So it may look different each time it's running. I'm sure in the video you saw them like physically take one robot out and put it in, but it's not permitted at a competition. They're meant to use the same robot for all 3 of their 2.5-minute matches. Dave or Christine, is there anything I might have missed or misinterpreted there?
No, I think you got that bang on there.
Yep.
Cool, thanks. And the next question is from Shahab. It asks, is there any way to join other teams? And again, Phil, please feel free to jump in, but unlike activities such as House League Soccer, First Canada doesn't have a system by which groups of interested students are placed on a team or placed on existing teams. So it's really the responsibility of a teacher in a school or a parent or a community member to form a team. So if you have a son or daughter that's interested in joining a team, the likelihood of them joining one that's in existence, if you don't already know the coach, or joining one at a school that they don't attend is not likely. So yeah, so you could encourage their school to start a team, or you or a family member or interested community member could start one for your son or daughter to participate.
Yeah, it's very rare to find a team that's looking for additional team members, because most teams are formed with a specific group of students in mind, whether it be a teacher looking to do something for kids in their school or in their class, or whether it be you know, a neighborhood team that started up in somebody's basement. Usually it's for their children and their children's friends. If you know of somebody, definitely reach out and ask, but we don't know at First Canada of anybody that's looking for a team, that's looking for students. Not something that we usually are hear about, because usually they're filled and then there's a waiting list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thanks, Christine. And to add to that, there are, I won't mention them here, but there are private companies that do run teams. So that's one way that you could join other teams, but there's a cost associated with it. Again, those are private organizations. So this may answer anonymous attendees' question as well around, can my child join an existing team? There's a question here with double exclamation marks, which I totally agree with, because it says $300 per kid. I think maybe Christine, do you want to speak about the cost for Explore, and maybe I can speak again about the cost for Challenge?
Sure. So those costs, I did reply here in the question and answer part, but those costs are significantly higher the first year, because there is that initial investment of, in Explore's case, the We Do 2.0, or for the Challenge teams, it's the Spike or the EV3. But those are things that once you've invested in, you can reuse year after year. So that's just the first year cost if you don't have those sorts of things. And I also wanted to once again highlight the fact that there are grants available to help offset those costs for rookie teams. And we do encourage you to apply for them. They're done on a first come, first served basis. And we do our best to accommodate as many teams as we possibly can, because that is our real goal, to help make this opportunity available to as many students as possible. So.
Thanks, Christine. And I'm wondering if that $300, I remember on my slide for cost, it said the registration fee for First LEGO League Challenge was $300, and that's for the whole team of 10. So the total cost was $1,450 just in the first year because of those initial investments. Plus, imagine you got one of those $500 grants. So the cost per student ends up being far less than $300. It's not per person, it's per team. And then the last question, hopefully, that we can answer before time runs out, is around having remote meetings. Could you have more than one challenge set? And absolutely, you can actually purchase 2 this year. And so you could have those in different places to reduce the gathering size and to help with social distancing.
And that's
And I,
unique for this year, so don't expect it next year.
yeah.
Gone.
Although it's a great option, so maybe we can hit up first for keep it going. I did want to revisit the question around joining other teams, because teams can be school-based as well, and it's a big undertaking, certainly, but very rewarding for parents or families to do this. We at First Canada are happy to and very excited for the opportunity to reach out to schools and either speak with you or on your behalf to schools about what the programs entail and all of this information about costs and so on, so that if your child attends a school and there's a teacher that's interested in getting this going, we're happy to support that process as well. So don't want you to feel like as though there's no chance just because there's no teams for them. We can help start that up in whatever way works best.
And I just really want to encourage all parents not to be afraid to try. This is something you can learn alongside your kids, and I think that there's a real valuable lesson in doing that, to show them how to learn, and that we as adults don't always have all the right answers, and show them how we learn. And when I first started, I knew absolutely nothing. I didn't even own Lego as a kid, or my kids when we started. And there are so many resources out there now, and there are so many people that are willing to help you learn, and the videos, the tutorials, the online webinars, there's a wealth of information, and you don't have to learn it all yourself. The kids on your team can learn it too. It's like, I'm still not a very good programmer, but my kids are wonderful programmers, and that's, to me, the way it should be, because it is their work in the end that we're showcasing. And I think I just wanted to really encourage you that, even if it's not you're not technical, this isn't your thing, give it a try, because you know what, there's so much meat on this bone that you can just really sink your teeth into and really love and explore. It's just fun and very rewarding, as Annika said.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, for both of you, responding, Annika's to the school base and Christine to the parent base. I think it's important to remember those slides that we had with the teacher guides, the team meeting guides, the engineering notebooks. Those are really designed, in addition to all the online resources that are there, you're getting this physical walkthrough of what to do in each session, and it's very well laid out. And really the role of the coach is not to have the answers, really. It's to help the kids look for those answers, and to put them in the right position to find those answers themselves. So you're kind of the guide on the side as opposed to the sage on the stage, right? So keep that in mind. You don't have to be the one with all the answers. Like Christine said, it's a good example to be learning with the kids as well, and to have them find out how to do these research and how to reach out to people and find the answers that they need. So,
and
powerful
speaking
experience.
of finding, speaking of answers that you need, if you check out the next slide, if you didn't get all the answers that you need today, please write to Christine or I at these email addresses, or even just hang out for a couple more minutes, because we'll be on the call and we can answer any other questions that appear in the chat over the next couple of minutes. But we cannot wait to see your teams in action this season, and to hear what a rewarding yet challenging experience that is for you. Dave and Christine, any closing remarks?
No, just remember those core values and have fun. That's one of them.
Yeah, I think just honestly, you won't regret the decision to start a team, whether it's at your kid's school or if it's out of your house. It's a decision that will change lives, and we highly recommend it. So get in there, jump in with both feet. You can do it.